What's going on, good people? I know I've said it, and I know a number of other people that have either said it or believe that the three numbers on the front of a fertilizer bag or container is the most important pieces of information that you can get about that fertilizer. Well, I beg to differ, especially at this point. Yes, those numbers are important, and they're important to inform you of the reason why you bought the fertilizer in the first place, which is what we're going to discuss in this video. Let's briefly talk about the three numbers that are on the front of the bag, also known as your fertilizer analysis. Those numbers represent your N, P, and K, which is going to be your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So nitrogen is going to be your most important nutrient that's going to be supplied to the plant. It's going to be responsible for your growth. It's going to be responsible for your green up. And also it's going to be responsible for the uptake of all the other nutrients that are either already in the soil or that's going to be supplied through that fertilizer. The second number is going to be your P, which is going to be your phosphorus. Phosphorus should really only be applied when you have a deficiency, either visually or you have confirmed it with a reputable soil test analysis. This also includes applying fertilizers or compost, which is a natural organic that typically has a phosphorus content to it. The third and final number that you're going to see on the bag is going to be for your K, which is going to be the potassium. Potassium really supports all the other plant functions and processes that the plant goes through to survive and do what it normally does. All right, now let's get into the meat of this discussion. Why are those numbers on the front of the bag not that important? Well, they are important, but they're important to inform you of the real reason why you bought the fertilizer in the first place. And that is to apply an amount of nutrients to your lawn. That's what those numbers inform you of. And the more important thing is to know how much of those nutrients you are actually applying to your lawn. I hear this said all the time, well, you shouldn't apply a high analysis fertilizer or a high end fertilizer during blank period of the season. Depending on what grass type you're working with, it may be a different time of season. Well, I think that message has gotten a little confused, and what the message is really trying to say is you shouldn't apply a high amount or volume of that particular nutrient, typically nitrogen, to your lawn during that period of time. As users of fertilizer, whether professional or DIY, we should be responsible and knowledgeable enough to know exactly how much of those nutrients we're applying per application. And typically that's measured in pounds per 1,000 square feet. So you'll hear me say, the rest of the Workin team and others say, I applied a half a pound of N per 1,000 square feet. That's because what we're discussing and we're talking about how much of that actual nutrient, in that example being nitrogen, we're applying per 1,000 square feet. That way we know exactly what we're putting down on our lawn. Okay, now let's walk through an example. So if I want to apply a half a pound of nitrogen to my lawn, I can do that in a number of different fertilizer analysis. I can do it in a 4600, which is urea. I can do it in a 2100, which is AMS or ammonium sulfate, or I can do it in a 19019, which I've used before, which is a blend of different forms of urea and AMS kind of together. So the thing is they can all give me a half a pound of nitrogen applied to my lawn. But the difference is the actual amount of total product weighed out fertilizer that I'm actually going to be applying. So if I went with a 4600 to get that half a pound, it would actually take me about a pound, 1.1 to be exact, per 1,000 square foot to put down that half a pound of N per 1,000. If I went with a 2100, that would actually take me about 2.4 pounds of actual fertilizer to be able to get me there. And then a 19019 is going to take a little bit more, which is going to be about 2.6 pounds per 1,000 square foot of actual product to get me a half a pounder in. So this is where the physical size and the prill makeup, or the SGN, of the fertilizer granular starts to come into play. I won't get into the details of that in this video, but if you've been around the channel, you know I prefer a smaller granule size, or SGN, when I look at my granular fertilizer, because now I can better control the amount of nutrient that I am putting down, and I can apply lower amounts because I have a smaller granule that I have more control over. When we start to look at those, this now also starts to impact the dollars that we're spending per bag of fertilizer. So if I'm dealing with a 4600 and I want to go out with a half a pound, it doesn't take me that much material to actually get that half a pound down. So I can now get more applications per bag that I go and buy. I can have a high analysis fertilizer, but still apply a smaller amount of that actual nutrient to the lawn. One of the most frequently asked questions that I get is, Cam, what fertilizer do you use, or what fertilizer do I apply during blank period of the season? Well, I typically do a soil test, and then I apply fertilizer depending on what nutrients are needed from my soil test. So it could be in the form of any one of those fertilizers that I just named, or it could be something else. And I typically have a variety of fertilizers that I use, but I am more focused on the actual amount of nutrients and not necessarily the analysis of the fertilizer that I'm using. Yes, I use that analysis to calculate how much I'm putting down, but it could come in many different forms or many different analysis to get me to the end goal that I'm looking for. So if you're a beginner, or if you're a homeowner that is looking for a very basic program, here's an example of something that you could do. So let's say you have a 5,000 square foot lawn. You can go out to the big box, grab you 2 bags of 2100. You can actually go to your local co-op or farm store. You could probably find it even cheaper there. But you can get 2 of those bags, say they're 40-pound bags. You can make all the applications that you need for the season with just those 2 bags. Typically the ones that references are about 25 bucks per bag. So you're looking at 50 bucks for all the fertilization that you need to do for the season. That'll give you about 3 pounds of nitrogen to put down for the entire season and have a little left over. So you can make 1 application in the spring, 1 application in the late spring, early summer before the heat really starts to hit. And then you can make 2 applications in the fall to make up that total about 3 pounds of nitrogen for the season. I don't think you get any more simple than that. You could go with urea. Yes, urea would even be cheaper, but I actually prefer to use AMS or ammonium sulfate, which is the 2100, over urea. Personal preference, I tend to like the performance of AMS more than urea. Now that we've walked through the importance of knowing the amount of nutrients you're applying to your lawn, and we even talked about a sample program that you can follow, which is very simple and cost effective. If you're ready to get going this spring and you need to know what chores you need to knock out, check out this video right here, which will go through some of those chores that you need to get your lawn going this season. And the next video will actually walk you through some pre-emergent information to make sure that you keep those weeds out of your lawn this season.